In a rare display of meteorological persistence, severe tropical cyclone Narelle has etched its name into the record books as one of the few systems to maintain its structure while crossing the Australian continent from the Coral Sea to the Indian Ocean. Reaching Category 5 intensity during its peak, Narelle has left a trail of flooding and disruption across 3 states and territories, currently threatening the vital industrial hubs of Western Australia's Pilbara and Gascoyne regions. The life cycle of Narelle began in mid-March 2026 within the Coral Sea, off the coast of far north Queensland. Fueled by sea surface temperatures roughly 0.5 degrees Celsius to 1.0 degrees Celsius above average, the system underwent a period of rapid intensification. Initially classified as a tropical low on March 16th, it quickly escalated to a Category 2 system by late March 17th. By the morning of Thursday, March 19th, Narelle reached its first peak as a compact but dangerous Category 5 severe tropical cyclone. Experts noted its unusual predictability, steered westward by a persistent deep subtropical ridge that acted like a conveyor belt. Narelle made its first landfall near Lockhart River and Cape Melville on the morning of Friday, March 20th, as a Category 4 system. Sustained winds near the center reached 205 kilometers per hour, with destructive gusts peaking at 285 kilometers per hour. The storm lashed remote communities including Lockhart River, Coen, and Napranum. While its compact nature limited the radius of the most destructive winds to approximately 50 kilometers, it caused significant power outages and localized structural damage. Saturated catchments across the peninsula were further inundated, leading to flash flooding. After weakening over land to a Category 2 system, Narelle re-emerged over the warm waters of the Gulf of Carpentaria on Saturday, March 21st. It briefly re-intensified before making a second landfall early on Sunday, March 22nd, near Cape Shiels in the Northern Territory as a Category 3 system. Approximately 500 residents of Numbulwar were airlifted to Darwin as a precaution. The top end experienced widespread heavy rainfall, with totals exceeding 200 millimeters in areas like the Adelaide River. Major flooding was reported in Katherine and along the Daly River, occurring just 2 times within a few weeks. By Monday, March 23rd, Narelle moved over the Kimberley coast as a tropical low. However, as it tapped back into the ocean goodness of the Indian Ocean, the system re-intensified. By the morning of Wednesday, March 25th, it was officially declared a tropical cyclone once again, a rare feat for a system that had already traversed the continent. As of late Thursday, March 26th, Narelle has intensified back into a Category 4 severe tropical cyclone. Positioned approximately 200 kilometers north of the Pilbara coast, moving southwest. The storm is threatening Australia's engine room. Major iron ore export ports, including Port Hedland, Dampier, and Cape Lambert, have been put on alert, with bulk carriers cleared from harbors and LNG loading operations threatened. Very destructive wind gusts of up to 275 kilometers per hour are forecast as the system brushes the Northwest Cape. Areas from Karratha to Exmouth are experiencing gales and large swells, while a Cyclone Watch extends as far south as Geraldton. Meanwhile, in the emerald heart of Australia's tropical north, the city of Cairns stands as a gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. However, its geographic beauty comes with a seasonal price: the constant threat of severe tropical cyclones. As atmospheric conditions in the Coral Sea fluctuate with the patterns of El Niño and La Niña, Cairns remains one of the most monitored urban centers in the Southern Hemisphere. This report provides a detailed breakdown of the meteorological mechanics, the socio-economic impacts, and the sophisticated emergency frameworks that define life in the cyclone zone. The formation of a cyclone threatening Cairns typically begins as a monsoon low-pressure system near the Solomon Islands or the Gulf of Papua. For these systems to evolve into the destructive giants known as Category 4 or 5 cyclones, they require a specific meteorological cocktail. sea surface temperatures must be at least 26.5 degrees Celsius to a depth of 50 meters. In recent years, temperatures in the Coral Sea have frequently exceeded 29 degrees Celsius, providing high-octane fuel for rapid intensification. The system must be at least 5 degrees of latitude away from the equator to gain the necessary spin. For a cyclone to grow, the wind speed and direction must be relatively uniform throughout the atmosphere. High shear acts like a guillotine, cutting the top off a developing storm. When these conditions align, Cairns enters a state of heightened vigilance. The Bureau of Meteorology, BOM, utilizes a sophisticated network of Doppler radars, including the critical station at Saddle Mountain, to track the eye of the storm with sub-kilometer precision. Cairns is topographically vulnerable. Nestled between the Great Dividing Range and the Coral Sea, the city sits on a low-lying coastal plain. This creates two primary hazards during a severe cyclone. This is often more lethal than the wind. As a cyclone's low pressure lifts the ocean surface and its winds push that water toward the coast, a wall of water can be driven inland. For a city like Cairns, a 3-meter surge at high tide would inundate the CBD, the Esplanade, and the critical infrastructure of Cairns Hospital. As moist cyclonic winds hit the mountains behind Cairns, such as Mount Bartle Frere, the air is forced upward, cooling and dumping massive amounts of rain. This leads to flash flooding in the Barron and Mulgrave River catchments, often cutting off the Captain Cook Highway and isolating the city from the north and south. Cairns International Airport is a critical hub. As a Cyclone Watch is declared, airlines cancel flights and reef operators dry dock their fleets in the cyclone woods of the Trinity Inlet mangroves. The loss of tourism revenue during a week-long event can exceed $50 million. To the south, the Cassowary Coast produces the majority of Australia's bananas and a significant portion of its sugarcane. A direct hit can wipe out 90% of the crop, as seen during Cyclone Larry and Cyclone Yasi, leading to a national spike in food prices. The city is mapped into colored zones based on surge risk. Residents in red and orange zones are ordered to evacuate to higher ground or public cyclone shelters. Since the 1980s, Queensland's building codes have been among the strictest in the world. Modern homes are designed with cyclone rods that bolt the roof to the foundations, ensuring that while a house may lose its cladding, the structure remains intact. Trinity Inlet provides a natural sanctuary. Hundreds of commercial and private vessels retreat into the deep mangrove channels, using the dense root systems as natural shock absorbers against the wind and surge. Beyond the statistics is the cyclone culture of far north Queensland. Residents maintain cyclone kits containing 3 days of water, battery-powered radios, and non-perishable food. There is a communal understanding that when the red alert sounds, all movement ceases. The psychological toll of the hunker-down period, listening to the roar of 200 kilometers per hour winds in total darkness, is a shared trauma that binds the community together. Meanwhile, as of March 26, 2026, the industrial heartland of Western Australia is facing one of its most significant meteorological threats in recent years. Severe Tropical Cyclone Narelle, currently a powerful Category 4 system, is tracking parallel to the Pilbara coast, bringing destructive winds, torrential rain, and dangerous storm surges to the Dampier and Karratha regions. The Bureau of Meteorology, BOM, has confirmed that Nurell intensified into a Category 4 system earlier today, with sustained winds near the center of 175 kilometers per hour and catastrophic gusts reaching up to 250 kilometers per hour. The system is currently located approximately 215 kilometers west-northwest of Karratha and is moving southwest at 18 kilometers per hour. Forecasters warn that Nurell could still intensify further, with a high possibility of reaching Category 5 status overnight as it approaches the Northwest Cape. The storm's large gale radius has already begun pummeling the coastal hubs of Dampier, Karratha, and Wickham, with intense wind gusts and heavy rainfall. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services, DFES, has escalated warnings to an emergency warning level for the area between Dampier and Onslow. Residents in these zones have been issued a clear and urgent directive: shelter indoors now. Authorities have stated it is now too late to leave for those in the emergency warning zone. Residents are advised to stay in the strongest part of their buildings, away from doors and windows. Earlier today, evacuations were carried out for those in homes not built to sustain winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. Public shelters in the region are currently housing residents who relocated before the red alert conditions were implemented. Coastal residents between Port Hedland and Exmouth are warned of a dangerous storm tide. Tides are expected to rise significantly above the normal high tide mark, potentially leading to damaging waves and flooding in low-lying coastal areas. The port of Dampier, one of the world's largest bulk export ports for iron ore and LNG, has effectively come to a standstill. Following standard cyclone response protocols, bulk carriers and gas tankers were cleared from the harbor early Wednesday to ride out the storm in the open ocean. Major resource companies operating in the Pilbara, including Rio Tinto and Woodside Energy, have throttled back operations and evacuated non-essential personnel from offshore platforms and coastal facilities. Significant portions of the Northwest Coastal Highway have been closed due to localized flooding and the threat of fallen power lines. Cyclone Nurell has drawn intense interest from meteorologists due to its rare path. The system originally formed in the Coral Sea off Queensland, crossed the Northern Territory, causing widespread flooding, and has now re-intensified over the warm waters of the Indian Ocean to strike Western Australia. This triple state impact makes Nurell one of the most geographically expansive storm systems in Australia's recent history. The system is projected to continue its southwesterly track, brushing the Northwest Cape this evening. These towns are bracing for potential direct hits, with wind gusts of up to 275 kilometers per hour expected later tonight. BOEM projects the cyclone will likely make landfall near Shark Bay late Friday night as it begins to weaken into a Category 3 system. While the center will stay north, the supercharged rain bands from Nurell are expected to reach as far south as Perth, potentially dropping up to 100 millimeters of rain, 5 times the March monthly average, over the coming days. As night falls on the Pilbara, the message from Commissioner Darren Clem remains stark. This is a destructive cyclone. Do not be complacent. The region remains in a state of high alert as the full force of Nurell's core nears the coast.